Notch, or Markus Persson, is one of the most recognizable names in gaming, and one of the most influential programmers of all time. Despite the relative simple and humble beginnings of Minecraft back in 2009. Now, I'm gonna say this right away. I know Notch has had, well, a colorful time on Twitter after selling Minecraft to Microsoft. But listen, before you comment something crazy, this is not me condoning anything the man has said or claiming I'm a Notch fanboy. This is an objective video talking about the history of his lead up to Minecraft and how some of the early games he created show influence and relation to the eventual best-selling video game of all time. Like or hate the guy, he's responsible for Minecraft and for my entire channel's existence. Anyway, there is a website, theintraclinic.com, which gets its name from Notch's first official game website, which lasted until 2009, that has all of this information, screenshots, and more. It's an incredible archive and it's linked below. So let's dive into that history, talk about Notch's early games, and what led to the creation of our beloved little Minecraft. Notch began his programming journey at a very young age, a very long time ago in the 1980s. He created his first ever game at literally just 8 years old in 1987, which was a text-based adventure game made for the Commodore 128 system, which is just incredible. I mean, look at this absolute beast. Next video, beating Minecraft on the Commodore 128? Not much is known about this text game, and it's unclear if Notch still even has the Commodore system or any remnants of that first game at all. He probably doesn't. Let's fast forward a little to the mid-1990s, when Notch reached his late teens and started his first ever actual gaming company, which was called Bit7 Productions. I don't think this was like a real licensed business or anything like that, more like calling your first YouTube channel something goofily official when you're 11, because Notch didn't actually release anything to the public under this persona. He did create a domain for it, which he actually later said in an interview that he sold for $800, so maybe I should eat those words that it wasn't a real company. Weirdly, the Bit7 domain still works, but it redirects you to some kind of sketchy looking engineering company website. Okay, which marketing person decided that this cursed image should be the front page face of Global Product Development LLC? Also, clicking on the website button on Google for that company takes you to this probably illegal thing. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole for another time. Anyway, back to Notch. He created tons and tons of games during this time period in the 1990s, like a Wolfenstein clone, a Galaga-style side-scrolling shooter, a Zelda-like RPG he called Ruby, which was supposed to serve as the template for all his future RPG endeavors, another RPG-type template named Heed, which he worked very extensively on from what I can tell, a Mega Man-type game featuring a wolf protagonist, and so much more that we don't have time to go through. A full list can actually be found by clicking on Bit7 Productions on the Intraclinic Archive website. There are 3 games from the Bit7 time period that I want to highlight though, as this is the first time we can see some pull towards the eventual development of Minecraft. These 3 games are RubyLand, ISOM, and Strat. Now, just from those thumbnails, we can already see where this is going, but let's talk about each one really quick. Starting with ISOM. ISOM was actually not a game, but an isometric rendering test of some 3D textures. Obviously, 3D modeling and gaming itself was in its absolute infancy in the 1990s, so it makes sense for Notch to have had a load of different rendering tests just to see what would work and what wouldn't. It calculated things like lighting, height mapping, and random terrain generation. Now, this is the very first time we see what probably inspired some of the Minecraft texturing, as the coloring of the grass, stone, and water we can see from his screenshot of the development build matches early Minecraft textures extremely well. I mean, if you showed this to me without context, I'd probably be like, whoa, weird, creepy isometric Minecraft render mod. This was the late 1990s, so at least 10 years before Minecraft Classic came out. Very cool to see. Next from the 3, RubyLand. RubyLand was a tiled dungeon crawler in which Notch tested out variable ceiling and floor heights in the generation. Again, like ISOM, just visually, we can see how RubyLand probably planted the seed of Minecraft in his mind. The terrain generator created these tiled cubes you had to avoid and climb over. This literally looks like an extremely low-res 144p Minecraft texture pack. And lastly, Strat, which was entirely inspired by the 1992 game Dune 2. and was Notch's learning process of mosaicing tile sets together and making it work as a minimap. This one is a little more of a stretch than the first two, as it looks like it just reused most of the ISOM textures from before, but still, the grass and water remind me so much of Minecraft grass and water, which is so interesting. Notch would never release any of these games under Bit 7 Productions, as I said earlier, and it seems to me like they were all just him building up different aspects of his coding knowledge, as each game was so vastly different and contained a lot of different mechanics that would be good to have in the tool belt. Sadly too, because of the fact that they were never released and being 30 years old now, it's likely that all of these games are entirely lost to time and will remain that way forever. It is cool that Notch kept all these screenshots though, and was able to remember tons of things about them and be able to speak to that in interviews. Now, after Notch sold bit7.com in 2001, he created another domain, which was, you guessed it, the intraclinic.com. Now, Notch would do a lot of things on this website, from tons and tons of games to music to his first semblance of a blog. All of this content, besides the bits and pieces archivists have gathered over the years, are lost to time as of its demise in 2009. But let's go through some of the major pieces of the 2000s and leading up to Minecraft. We won't go through every game, but the most interesting ones. Starting in 2003, Notch would start another little company called Mojang. You may have heard of it. Now, this actually isn't the same Mojang, it was actually Mojang Specifications AB, later changed to Code Club AB. In 2003, he would start programming a major title called Worm Online. This was the first time Notch strayed away from his usual style and genres, as Worm Online is a very ambitious 3D game. It is a fantasy MMO fit with a global economy, skills and grinds, towns and cities filled with lively NPCs. Notch and his business partner at the time, Rolf Jensen, would develop the client for Worm up until 2007, when Notch would actually leave the project and Code Club AB for other endeavors. Now, Worm Online actually still exists and is up to this day, making it one of the longest running MMOs in history. Rolf Jensen still runs the company and the project, and it has a small cult following that still plays the game. It's kind of crazy to think that if Notch never left the Worm project in 2007, Minecraft likely would have never been made, or at least not to the same level. This channel literally wouldn't exist in the same way talking about this stuff if that happened. So through 2003 to 2007, during the time of Worm's development, Notch would work on some kind of weird stuff on the side. Like a Sonic spin-off game in 2005 made for a Java coding competition. You can actually still download that and play it to this day. Weirdly, looking at a forum post about the game from 2005, the Sonic game actually morphed and twisted into a slew of entirely different styled games, called Dungeon 4K, Hunters 4K, and Miners 4K. The 4K comes from the competition's limitation requiring all submitted games to be 4 KB or 4096 bytes or less. Hunters 4K is just another Doom clone, but Dungeons and Miners 4K are very, very interesting for obvious reasons. You can still play Dungeon 4K using the jar download on the Intraclinic, and it's a dungeon crawler type game that, really resembles Minecraft now, where you walk around a dungeon looking for keys, diamonds, and other weird power-up type things. So let's make this very clear. Without this goofy Sonic racer game that Notch himself claimed to morph into Dungeon 4K, Minecraft wouldn't exist. How Sonic morphed into a dungeon crawler, only Notch knows, but I think it's safe to say that Sonic the Hedgehog somehow and in some way inspired Minecraft itself. Now, Miners 4K came later, which looks like Wish.com Terraria, where you dig holes through dirt to lead these little guys to the gold. Even this terrible 2D environment art still somehow resembles Minecraft textures though. It's actually crazy to see how much influence all of these early projects had on our beloved game. Moving on, in 2005, Notch began freelancing for King.com, a now behemoth company owned by Activision, responsible for creating every boomer mom's nightly routine, Candy Crush. Notch didn't work on Candy Crush, of course, but he made some other similar Flash games during that time for King.com until he left the work behind in early 2009, just before Minecraft came out. Kind of crazy that this is yet another point where Notch could have sat comfy and easily in his game development career, creating brain rot addicting cash grab mobile games, but thankfully for all of us Minecraft fans, decided he wanted to do his own thing. And so we've reached 2009. Obviously, the first rendition of Minecraft, Cave Game, came out in mid-May 2009, but let's talk about what came right before, as it's incredibly interesting. Notch used to participate in the RubyDung Dare, which is one of the longest running, quote, game jams or game development competitions beginning in 2002. Notch would create Bunny Press for RubyDung Dare 14 in April 2009, which is a difficult 2D puzzle game where you avoid the level closing in on you and some cute bunnies by reaching the goal in time. You can still play this one too, as the jar file has been archived after all of this time. The reason I bring this up is because, again, we see Minecraft influence right away in the grass texture. Okay, maybe that one is a reach, but it still caught my eye. And then we finally reach the fabled RubyDung, the so-called lost game that actually wasn't really a game, but a very successful level generation engine prototype Notch made for an attempt at a dwarf fortress clone. It's not really lost either, because Notch never actually released any bits of RubyDung publicly other than some screenshots to show what he had built. The ties to Minecraft are obvious, with the recognizable old cobblestone texture that was genuinely used in the early days of the game. In fact, Notch would eventually take the entire RubyDung generation engine and transfer it over to Minecraft's first world generation code. This is yet another stop where Minecraft could have never happened, as RubyDung was planned to turn into a massive RPG sandbox game called RubyLands. RubyLands actually sounds a little like Minecraft in its planned state. You have an inventory with stackable and non-stackable items, equipable items, and you venture out into an infinite world looking for loot and quests from NPCs. Now, the cited reason that this never happened and it was turned into Minecraft is because Notch attempted to have RubyDung be both an isometric view like we see in the screenshots or a first-person game. However, when implementing first person, the game looked horrible and dated, seeing the graininess of the textures up close. Instead of fixing that issue in RubyLands, he took the base game he already had, got inspired by a little game called Infiniminer, and our beloved cave game tech test was born. So that's a brief version of the story of Minecraft's world generation origins. What about the first Minecraft playable character and the most globally recognized figure in gaming history, Steve? Well, the Steve model came from a very strange place actually. It was a game Notch was making in early 2009 called Zombie Town. Not a whole lot is known about Zombie Town, but Notch enjoyed zombie-themed games and created something called Left 4K Dead, which was another 4 KB Java game similar to the aforementioned ones in the last section. Zombie Town was supposedly going to be an improved version of this game. Interestingly, the Steve model in Zombie Town was Notch's first actual success at creating 3-dimensional models from scratch. I doubt at the time he thought Steve would amount to the icon that he is today. The art style of Zombie Town and the Steve model was inspired, weirdly enough, by Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. So what we learned in this video is that Sonic and GTA are responsible for Minecraft. What a world we live in. And then Notch created Minecraft, and you don't need me to tell you what happened after that. The rest is history, as they say. As for me, if you enjoyed this history video, let me know in the comments below. I know it's not my usual nostalgic content, but I found Notch's full game development story incredibly interesting, and it also hasn't been covered extensively before that I could find. Subscribe and like the video as it helps me out a ton. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Special thanks to my channel members on these signs, especially my knights Kiramos, Mad Megan, Fantic, Chris the Bear, Ponytail MC, Ferret Wolf 95, Caden TMG, Melon Siggy, Thomas Wellman Boyd, and Crimson, as well as my beloved Lord members Jazz This, the AB Railfan, Gunslinger Zach, Lilia Blue, A Blair, Alas, Spalical, Jake P 2013, Names Unknown, and Dirty Dan.